Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I live 40 miles from the Ukraine border. I've been there 3 times. Once many years ago, and twice during the current civil war. It's an amazing place. It's stunningly beautiful. The people are extremely friendly and open, and they're very, very strong-willed. So what is going on between the West and Russia concerning such a stunning historic country? In December last year, I posted a video asking if World War III was imminent. Now it looks as though it might be, but not for the reasons we are being led to believe. There seems to be a conflict of intelligence between the different participating parties as to who is doing what their intentions are, and what the response should be. This week, President Biden spoke with President Zelensky of the Ukraine and tried to convince him that war with Russia was imminent. President Zelensky tried to tone down the rhetoric, as he had already appeared on state television during the week to convince his own people to be calm. As of yet, there is no evidence that war will take place. But America is on the war footing. As part of the eastern side of Europe, we appear to be getting NATO and American troops and vehicles building up along the Ukraine border. This includes countries such as Romania, Bulgaria, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland. Putin is understandably concerned. For many years, Ukraine has functioned like a buffer zone between Russia and the West. Putin's main concern is that NATO wishes to expand right up to the Russian border. In response, the West has said in formal letters, every country has the right to join NATO. To put this in perspective, it would be the same as if Mexico joined a Chinese alliance. How would America respond? How did America respond when Cuba became part of the Soviet Union's influence? The Bay of Pigs was the response. It's getting scary, it really is. When you sit there watching your televisions and you hear about evil people and desperate nations and we need to invade and we need to defend, or whatever propaganda is being used, you are distanced from the fact these are real people who have real lives, real families, real jobs, and their lives are about to get utterly devastated from one side or another. Can you imagine it happening to you? Living so close to the border, I am very concerned for my own children. I've got 2 boys of conscription age. Should the West and Russia decide to have a go at each other. China has also decided to get involved, and it has decided to back Russia. Now this came as a bit of a surprise, because obviously China and Russia do have conflicting interests, as we saw recently in Kazakhstan. Now Kazakhstan is of particular importance at the moment, because all this alleged secret intelligence and information about Russia planning to invade Ukraine obviously missed the fact that Russia moved into Kazakhstan. How was that not detected? As of yet, we don't know who was behind the 20,000 bandits that caused the revolution, which opened the door for an invitation for Russia to send in peacekeepers. Was it President Tokayev? Was it Putin himself? Was it a certain Hungarian who even Hungary doesn't want? Or was it any of the alphabet agencies? Whatever, it ended up with Russia having feet on the ground in one of the largest resource-rich countries on earth. And China missed the boat on that one. China is most likely supporting Russia in the Ukraine issue because it smacks of Taiwan. And China wants to see what the West's response will be should Russia invade Ukraine. Now, Russia has built up an immense force on its side of the border of Ukraine. 106,000 troops. Which makes you wonder why the West's response is to send between 1,000 and 5,000 troops to the border of Eastern Europe and Ukraine. What are they going to do with them? That looks more like a provocation than a defense force. But China is really keeping its eyes on this whole issue. Because if the West doesn't do something, should Russia invade Ukraine, then chances are it won't do anything if China decides to invade Taiwan. In the last week, China has done more flybys just to prove a point. Also, in the last week, the head of the German Navy was forced to resign after stating that we will never get the Crimea back, that it is now Russian. The German government didn't like this comment and he was forced to leave his post. President Biden's stance is that he believes the invasion will happen in February when the ground freezes. As you can see, the ground is already pretty frozen. And that sounds more like a tactic from the Napoleonic campaigns rather than modern warfare. Talking about modern warfare, Britain has now been supplying anti-tank weapons to the Ukraine army and instructing them how to use them should Russia invade. The West is really gearing up for something, even though the only evidence thus far is Russia having placed troops on the other side of the Ukraine border. This may all be about the fact that Ukraine is a virtually untapped market with a very large population. It also has its own natural resources. As we saw in recent years, these were of great interest to certain relatives of certain high-ranking Western politicians who left Ukraine after they came under investigation for dishonest practices. But it's obviously left a taste in the mouth, and the West is hungering for more. Is that what this is about? And what about the Nord Stream pipeline between Russia and Europe, which supplies gas? We are in the middle of an energy crisis where, for some reason, every country in the world has decided to whack up the price of gas and electricity, regardless of whether it's self-sufficient or not in its own production. Why then would we risk closing such an important gas line? Where is the alternative? And please don't tell me it's alternative energy. We are nowhere near ready for that. So why then? If the West goes ahead and starts placing even stricter sanctions on Russia, Putin will just switch off the gas supply. And as you can see, we are in the middle of winter. Already, prices are extortionate. How is it going to be when prices are extortionate and we can't get the product? What is the long-term goal? Because there has to be one. But then again, the people making these decisions don't live here. I don't see one of them. I was out walking this morning and I didn't see one American politician or one Chinese representative. Not one. Yet, their decisions from far-flung places will affect the lives of people like my children and the millions of other people in this area. The last 2 years have sucked. Absolutely sucked. The world went mental. We still don't know why. And it looks like 2022 may be heading into even more drastic circumstances. I just hope future generations don't look back at the 2020s and cringe. How could they have done that? Instead of the world coming together and working to save itself, those who lead the world have come together to rip it apart for their own benefit again. At some point, we really need to ask our leaders, are you leading, or are you leading us into a dark, dank pit? Let people live their own lives. As always, be free.